Kia ora, g'day, welcome back once again here with another reaction to Mr. Kyle Morgan on the Shawn Ryan show. So let's jump back in.
That element.
How many guys were there? How many guys showed up for selection? Roughly.
Man, it was over 100 and something dudes.
How many came out?
I remember, so they do like a formation where, like, if you're in this formation, you didn't make it. If you're in this formation, they start playing like the Ballad of the Green Berets, and you like salute the flag and shit. And you play a few things, but I actually like teared up. Yeah, when the Ballad of the Ballad of Green Berets played. Because it talks about the silver wings on your chest, America's best, but then not coming home, like, basically placing those wings on your son's chest, and like for him to carry that torch. It was almost like this.
It's interesting, man. Just I'm probably only starting to pick up on it now that I'm just really sort of trying to dive in and get into these longer interviews, which I'm grateful for the suggestions that have come, but I didn't realize, how long these were going to take, and then all the other requests and suggestions and a whole bunch of other stuff. But he hasn't got into answering the question around how many, basically finished, how many came out. It's really interesting watching this, and I think this would be, not necessarily this, but I think it would be a cool place for maybe militaries or governments, military to look at when people are discharging or looking to transition, possibly. Maybe they're already looking into that sort of stuff, but man, this is, I'm sure Shawn will bring him back to the question, but I'm hoping he gets to it either on his own, but if not, then with Shawn's guidance to help him get back to, in terms of, so there's about 100 or something on his selection course for Delta, and he's asked them how many finished. I think of DJ Shipley when he was, I think obviously DJ had been out for a while by the time he got onto the Shawn Ryan show, I think. And he spoke about 20, 22, something like that. But the responses to the questions are just very different in terms of, what I'm witnessing here. Nothing bad intended by what it is. It's just my observation in terms of how much must be still running through Kyle's head at this time. Yeah.
But yeah, it was almost like this this part of me that just knew I was gonna die in combat, and that was gonna be my offering, my sacrifice, my way of like escaping everything in a way that it looks like honorable, or is. It's just, there was an element of it that I'm like psychoanalyzing from back then, but it was a pivotal point, I think, where that was going to be, and I said this for a long time too, actually, where I'm going to go down like Bon Jovi, man, in blaze of glory. Like that's how I'm going down.
Mm-hmm.
There ain't no other way. For years, that's the way that I thought. Oh, for a long time, actually. But I would say it back then in SF, and it was culturally like, well, we were barrel-chested freedom fighters, man. Like, that was like what we are. And I needed an identity. I yearned to be a part of something to help me, like, feel good about myself.
Was there any part of selection that you found what was the toughest portion for you?
So either maybe, because I know what that's like sometimes when I've had the privilege to interview some people and I've asked the question, and typically they've answered it, and sometimes they may not have directly answered it, or answered it in either what I was expecting to hear. And sometimes when that's happened, I've sometimes lost track of the question that I had asked, especially when I'm just doing it off the cuff and in the moment, and then I end up, they've said something, and then I go down another tangent or rabbit hole. So it's unfortunate that we haven't heard at this stage. So we might hear later, but we haven't heard at this stage in terms of how many of those completed Kyle's selection that he was on, because I'd love to know that. And then, but now we're at a stage where he's Shawn's diverted or gone into another part, whether that's because he doesn't want to delve into it, or has maybe forgotten the question that he might have asked Kyle. Excuse me. But it's just I'm quite mesmerized at the moment with regards to the responses and how far from the question they are, if that makes sense. If it's just me, then yeah, please let me know. But it's just sticking out to me at the moment, like some fairly distinct and I suppose easy to understand questions, but the answers just seem to veer away from those questions that are coming. But anyway, let's get back into Kyle before I start rambling on and then you forget where you were up to.
I mean, the team week piece I thought was really like challenging, but not from a like making decisions, or because things to me, like even back then, like I'm a very like visual, like shapes and objects, like, oh, put this together, do this, you have to cover this, okay, cool. Like, not that I wasn't stressed out like everyone else, but then communicating that, and then like being in charge for episodic like periods where people are just followers because they just want to do just enough to like so they don't get cut or spot reports or whatever, like peered, and then there's people that genuinely want to give you the same amount of energy that you give them.
And what I'm noticing again, it's just like the question was, what did he find the hardest about selection, or what was the hardest thing on selection for him? I think it was words to that effect. Anyway, hello, here I am now. I'm forgetting the questions, but I'm pretty sure that was the question from Shawn. What did he find most challenging or hardest about selection? And it's, yeah, I think he might have touched on it. I didn't quite hear what it was, the piece that he spoke about. But yeah, I'm just having the same thoughts. It just the responses aren't necessarily, for me anyway, not that I'm not enjoying listening to this and reacting to it. It just seems quite disconnected from the question and the answers. That's all.
And it's filtering through all of that during team week that they do a pretty good job of, but that's that was like really challenging, is working through that. And because it's like tasks that you couldn't do on your own, like physically you just can't.
Yeah.
So you have to, like, when you're at your lowest, or you just came out of a role, it's like being in Ranger School. It's like you get this reinvigoration of like, oh shit, roster number, blah, 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 come up here. And you're in charge. You're the platoon leader, you're the platoon sergeant. Here's your frago, mission, whatever. It doesn't matter how you slept the night before, didn't sleep, or how long you moved. You just get this, oh, fuck me, this is my chance. This is because you only have so many chances. And, but then you want that balance between, like, I show up and, put all my energy into it when I'm in the spotlight. Mm-hmm. But then when I'm not, I'm just a turd. A turd. Well, yeah, a turd, or just freaking, you're just an anchor, right? It's like, that's why I love the military, like, buddy system and like battle buddy or dive buddy. Like when I'm in dive school, like, you are literally anchored to someone underwater. And when it's your freaking nav dive, it's like, you get these turbo legs, dude, and you're like, argh, and you're just dragging that person. You're like, bro, like, I was just yanking on the tether, like, let's go.
Yeah.
But then you're that person. You're like, man, I was trying, man. I'm sorry. Like, but I just, that part of, finding those relationships and nurturing and developing those with other like-minded individuals it's been like what I've been so passionate about, and putting the amount of energy that like I would want them, or they would want me. Like I put that into them, and that's been really great for me for periods of my career. And then there's been times where I've just been disappointed in my, like, what do you mean? Like, because then it goes back to expectations. It's like I had this expectation of something, or others had that of me, but an expectation is a recipe for resentment. It equals resentment, and resentment is the enemy. Especially if it's something that isn't having goals and objectives and things you're striving for, 100%. Like, but having expectations of even yourself, like that you don't understand and where they're coming from, like that can be extremely unhealthy. And then you'll just never be good enough, right? If you have these things that you don't even know, like, who you are, and you have these resentments that start building in your own self, and then others, then you're judging others, and it's it's led me to this point in time right now, where I'm sitting across from you, and of sound mind, and with this clarity that I have, and it's because I've been through all those things, and I have more to do. It just looks different,
So you move into the Q course.
Mm-hmm.
How many guys are in the Q course with you?
There's a ton. There's like a whole student company / SWIC is a big machine. The training group, is a part of special forces, and
really, how many? So how many selections?
They graduate like 1,000 Green Berets a year.
No shit.
Yeah. Those numbers are probably like dated, but I remember I was like, how many? Like you just said, like it's a lot every year. And they're the 1%, and.
Man, that's crazy. I mean, it sounds like a big number, but then I suppose when you compare that to how many actually, I'm guessing, apply to get to that stage, and there's about 1,000 in the year or over a 12-month period that graduate as a whole from, sounded like the Green Berets. Sounds massive, eh? But yeah, again, the amount of people that must be applying and going through that, and the either the dropout rates or the failure rates for people that are just maybe deemed not suitable, whatever that process looks like over there. Right. The amount of people, and then to hear him say, and that's the 1% that gets through, gives you an indication of how many people must have applied and not made it. It's
of the military, and they're small. It's a small piece of a large, military system.
Yeah. So how many selections do they run a year? Do you know?
There's like one a month.
One a month?
They may break twice a year or something where there's a gap. But
how many selection classes go into a Q course?
I don't know. Like I couldn't tell you.
How many Q courses a year?
They're concurrent. They're going on concurrently. So like if you start in one, you may finish in another.
Okay.
So they're constantly like your cohort, I think, is how they did it. And they've changed it so many different times now.
Yeah.
Like you have like an IODA is what they did when I was going through, and but they were kind of piloting it and seeing it. If you could like start with a team of people, an ODA, and then finish with them, but it's through the branching off of like the different language programs and the length of time, and then if you recycle something, There's just so many aspects to the Q course, like from small unit tactics to the survival, evasion, resistance stuff, and then language school. Depending on which language, like that changes the duration, and then your MOS is also like I was an 18 Echo communication sergeant, and there's the weapons sergeant, there's the engineer sergeant, there's the medical, and those are all like. Some of them are close, but they have their own criteria. So that's why it's like there's these committees in each kind of phase, and you kind of fall through under a committee. You go in through a committee and to successfully completing a portion of the course. And then if you have to recycle, or like Kaylee was born, my 15-year-old daughter, she was born during the Q course. So I but I came out for her birth and went into student company, and then I just kind of got lost in the sauce there, because then I'm just a number, it's like, and waiting, to get back into a pipeline, basically.
Man, what a process! Like that. There's a lot of working parts by the sounds of things in there with regards to people. Sounds like you can, if you need to, for certain reasons or special circumstances, like the birth of his, I think he said his 15-year-old daughter, unplug for a bit to go be there with the family for that, and then come back and waiting to be plugged in by the sounds of things. Like you mentioned, back into the pipeline, sort of waiting around. But all the other working parts and stuff, and a whole bunch of acronyms and stuff in there that they're mentioning, I didn't bother pausing it because with the American terminology and what those mean, IODA and all that sort of stuff, MOS, I have no idea, unfortunately. So those that do know, feel free to whack them in the comments if you like. Otherwise, I can just do some research and stuff on them later. It's a good thing about Google, I guess. But man, there is a lot of moving parts in that, and they're concurrent, one a month. Q courses or selections, 1 a month selections, and then concurrently there are Q courses running or something like that. Apologies if I got that around the wrong way. But man, it's she's a big moving beast, all right.
Because there's a bunch of people, either good dudes waiting to get in, that life happen. Like I'm not gonna. Yeah, I want to be there if I can. So I was there for her birth, and but then it's just like I also realized then too. I was like, man, I'm just kind of just a number in this place. Like I want to, and then I also, going through the Q course, it was great. It was awesome training, man, and really kind of honed in on some of the like I really take pride in being a Green Beret, and I firmly believe that the most capable group of 12 people in a well-oiled cohesive team, ODA, is the most capable force multiplier and combat little element that you can put behind in any country and truly make it a substantial impact. For 12 people, it's amazing. If you have the right people, man, getting all of them, I didn't see in a short amount of time. And that's when I pushed myself to go try out for something bigger or more.
Hold on, don't go there yet.
Sorry.
Let's go. So you get through the Q course. Where are you going after that?
So I knew that, or I've been told that if you're a communications guy, sergeant, they're going to make you do time in signal detachment, which is battalion level. You get your time in there for a year, and then they'll put you on the ODA. So I was like, how do I negate that? I went to dive school, and I tried pre-scuba, and then during the course, and then I went to dive school en route. But I went because one of the pre-scuba instructors was in the in 7th Special Forces group before, so he actually introduced me to the company sergeant major before I was even out of the Q course. I stood in front of him, It was Brian Rary, and I still stay in touch with him. And he's like, all right, if you make it through dive school, I'll bring you to this company. I'm gonna put you on the dive team. And I was like, roger that. Moved out, and then I went to dive school, and that was super easy. And just kidding.
I was like, well,
Yeah,
I've never heard that before.
No, it was man, yeah. I've never been afraid of a pool before in my life. I thought I loved the water, and like I also love to breathe, which is a novel concept, right? It's like, oh, I can't breathe under here. Oh, and you're taking my air source. Oh, like constantly. Cool. There comes the wizard. You're like, oh no, don't go to the light. And it is a very interesting school, man, but like physically challenging, and you know, the cognitive like challenges of it are it's not a game, like the Navy like dive tables and understanding all of that or learning it, and then
That must be daunting, man. Must be, extremely hard. There, just to hear him say, "I've never been scared of a pool before," and and I like to breathe. Far out. And then you've seen that on the class of 234 Navy SEALs Buds class, and that pop in to the pool, forward flip, and then swim off 50 meters, so 25 meters one end, touch, turn around, come back. And you've seen those guys, those candidates pass out underwater, and the safety and all that sort of stuff is there. So clearly highly, highly trained and skilled, high risk, but well aware of what the body's capable of doing, and those instructors well versed in the requirements and observations and what to look out for and how to respond effectively. But man, that must be daunting. That would play on the mind a heck of a lot, I would imagine. I've not done that level of water training, not in my career, but I can only imagine how daunting that stuff must be. Man.
Yeah, it was a kick in the fucking dick, period. And I would just go to the barracks, like, and look down at the pool in Key West, and I'm like, oh, it's beautiful out there. SFUO, Special Forces Underwater Operations. And there'd be like cruise liners coming in the Key West, like through the bay, and like you could see them over there. They're going to the other part of Key West, and like, I bet they're gonna have a great time. And then I look over at the pool deck, and just like the craziness that ensues or that would happen, and like jocking up, you know, drills and warming up. They got to warm you up before you get in the water. Yeah. And you're just like drowning people. You're just like, what? Like, your mask is constantly charged, right? So like, oh, get used to that. You'd be doing flare kicks, and like, and if, you know, some people, they either drain it, you know, through cracking the silo, with it, like by squinting, or they just can't close off the nasal like pass, and then they're just like, hey, Sergeant, I'm trying, because they keep coming charging it. And then I remember this one time, you can't see anything, you just hear, and you're just like 1, 2, 3, you know, doing the flare kicks. I can do like a million back then. But my dive buddy, he couldn't close off that. You know, they kept charging it. It was like third time, and they're like, okay, looks like you just want all the water. And they just like slow poured him with this 5-gallon. From what I can tell, it was a 5-gallon, but it was just like, oh my God, he's drowning. Like what seemed like for a long, long time. And I was like, bro, what it taught me though was keep the water in your mask and just close your fucking eyes. Yeah. Like, just close your eyes. Like, it's uncomfortable, man. But it makes sense. And it, like, they're teaching you, just like with anything, if you can't do something with your eyes closed, then you need to do it more, you know? And that's whether it's gun handling or you know, like working through, especially like life-saving bits of equipment. Like, you need to be able to work through those things and in different conditions.
I love that comment, and around it sort of aligns takes my mind to things like exposure therapy. If you're struggling to do something, you need to do more of it, practice it, work through it. And definitely the not being able to see, or low light or no light conditions, things like knowing where all your kit is, etc., as an example, in your pack, in your webbing, on your person, potentially on your buddy or on your teammates, in terms of where things are, emergency things like the first aid kit, the tourniquet, the pressure bandage or Israeli dressing and all that sort of stuff, the ammunition, magazines, etc. But just hearing him speak about that, and he's talking about charging the mask. So I'm guessing by charging the mask, I'm assuming they lift it up, get a lot of water in there, then put it back down. You got to leave it there. And like he's saying, you have to either try to close off, your nasal passage, close your eyes, and just carry on doing whatever it is that they're asking you to do. So it sounds like the flutter kicks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, or 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 2, moving through those 4 count flutter kicks, whatever you want to call them. But man, that part's not so bad. It's all the other stuff. So I'm guessing that's maybe part of the warming them up before they put them into the pool. And just hearing him speak about it, like, they're just drowning people in the pool each day. They're not drowning people, but they're putting them through. It must feel like it, based on what Kyle was talking about and what he went through and what he observed. Man, respect, man. That would be daunting and tough.
So definitely fun time down there. I gotta take a break.
I'm glad to hear him say, I'll wrap this one up here. So it's good to hear him acknowledge and say that he needs to take a break. That's about 27 minutes now. A couple of adverts that I need to go through and edit out of there. But man, what an experience. And it's nice to see him. I should have mentioned this earlier, like his responses to the questions seem a little bit more aligned with the questions that are coming towards him now, after that initial start anyway of this round of reaction to Mr. Kyle Morgan himself on the Shawn Ryan show. But yeah, enjoying listening to him, man. Like the information that he has there's a whole bunch from what I've heard as well. I think I mentioned it in the other reaction, but as raw as this is and as fresh as he is out of the service, by the time he does this interview, he's apparently, from what I see in the comments in that anyway, whether that's based on what people have seen with his business and what he has on YouTube, seems very different to me anyway, because I've seen some of his stuff on Blueberry and on YouTube. Seems very different to where he was on here, which is understandable. And comments along the lines of that he's killing it now. He's doing really well, which is awesome to hear too. Well deserved, and long may it continue to him and his colleagues, his peers, his brothers. So anyway, appreciate you if you stuck around this long, for listening in, tuning into this reaction. A lot to observe, listen, feel, and take in from Kyle Morgan, and also from Shawn Ryan as well. And and I'm here for it, grateful for it. As always, anybody going through any dark times, challenges, struggles, difficulties, keep turning up, keep staying in the fight, keep putting one foot in front of the other, and just keep moving forward. Know that you are not alone. Know that there is a light at the end of that long, dark, lonely, miserable tunnel. Even though it may not seem like it, know that the sun will shine again, and that there are better days coming, and that those better days are closer than you think. So as always, go always a little further. Remember, who dares wins and who cares wins. And until the next video, a big mana wave coming from me to you, filled with my aroha, respect, appreciation, and gratitude for you all.